Hello and thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari meets with APC National Working Committee, promises to carry out party along in decision-making, outrage as soldiers kill 3 policemen on covert operation in Taraba, free kidnap kingpin on wanted lists as Inspector General Police orders investigation, and later on the show, Kaduna State files for strict supervision of medical trip granted Elza Zaki, wife, by courts. I'll be hanging out with Sam Ibemere, Afolabi Akinola, and Wale Adedayo. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. A party democracy and supremacy are essential for the growth of democracy, especially a growing one like ours. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has told his party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that he would be more conscious of the interests of the party in taking key decisions. President Buhari, who met with the APC National Working Committee, NWC, in Abuja on Wednesday, pledged to uphold the party's supremacy and commended the leadership and members for their sacrifice. The president assured the NWC that competent members will be appointed as heads and chairmen of boards of government parastatals and agencies. Wale, what is President Buhari telling his party here? And I thought after winning the presidential election, it was meant to be a Nigerian thing, that even across party divides, a lot of people are even complaining that the people he chose as ministers, they are predominantly people from his party. No consideration for, trying to pull other parties together and everything. Now President Buhari is saying that more than before, that this party, I am going to listen to you guys and you're going to enjoy me more.
Well, the reality is that nobody voted for President Muhammadu Buhari. People voted for the All Progressive Congress candidates in the election. They voted for the programs and policies of the All Progressive Congress. Fine, he's now the president. He will govern or rule the country, not as a party man per se, but as a father and leader of all Nigerians. But what the people voted for, you can take a cue from some of the judgments concerning party primaries recently, where somebody has already been sworn in and somebody in his party who ought to have won the primary comes in. It is the party that we vote for, ideally under Nigerian law. But if you don't belong to a political party, you cannot contest an election.
That's a vehicle.
That's a vehicle that took you to office. But having said that, I think what he has done is very good. It's fantastic. I think it's one of the few times I will say something good about the way he's carrying on. Because if you remember the first time, the party was going this way and the government was going this way. That's not how it's supposed to be. Nigerians voted for a political party that promised them certain programs, certain politics, and certain things to do. Unfortunately, the legislative arm of government that ought to be carried along, or that should carry the presidency, or the presidency carry himself along with the legislative arm of government, they were doing something else. So this time around, the legislature, the party, and the presidency, once they are talking from the same page, I think Nigerians will be better for it. But concerning your first decision, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So far, so good. I don't think he has done anything outside carrying other political parties along, beyond the question of political appointments. A lot of politicians, that's what they are in politics for. But so far, so good. There are people who, to me, it may not be minister. It could be parasitas and so on. Because like this one that the party has gone to him for, almost throughout that first term, I can say that in some MDAs, it is people appointed by the previous administrations who served all through in those places. He didn't touch them. He didn't touch them. So for me, so far, so good. He's doing well concerning this party thing. But what you said to me is not correct, with due respect.
Sam.
Yeah, I think that the president was basically being politically correct when he said to the party leadership that he was going to carry them along. I think that essentially he was trying to speak to the need for team spirit, the need for each and every member of the political leadership, to work for each other. I think that is commendable, that is expected. But you want to ask, how much of unity do you have within that party? Okay, you have a party chairman who has been under some intense pressure lately with calls for his resignation. If you remember, you had Lawal Shuaibu, the Deputy National Chairman North, asking that Oshomole should give way. You had Shitu from the Southwest, the former communications minister, who asked that he should also resign. And the calls have come from everywhere. You had Oyegu, who has also asked that he should resign. There's a group in Rivers that also asked that Oshomole should resign. So it's good, like I said, that the president is talking about the need for unity, the need to carry every person along. But I think that the greater challenge within that party is for them to work as one. You've had situations where you have had more of dissension within the party. So I think that beyond trying to make the public believe that all is well, I think the greater challenge within the APC is to put its house in order. Otherwise, you have a situation where outwardly there will seem to be some cohesion, but inwardly there is a serious resentment to the party leadership. So I think that Mr. President's call should not just be mere rhetoric. He should mean it, because for him, over time, there is a strong perception that he's been his own man. When he speaks, he says I. We want to hear him say we. So it is important that he's talking about we, suggesting that there is need for greater team play. There is need for unanimity in terms of taking decision in the party.
Afolabi, do you think President Muhammadu Buhari, in his first 4 years, do you think he worked towards implementing his party plan? Do you think he was able to carry his party along and was able to fix members of his party where they ought to be, like talking about this board and parastatal? Or is this just want to make up for it now, having noticed that the first 4 years he made this kind of mistakes?
Very brilliant discussion so far, but I think he made a very historic, one of the very historic speech in the first term of his administration, where he said, "I belong to to nobody, and I'm for everybody." I think that one has been reviewed technically from this very statement he has made, because that statement in the speech then, to me, was in fact, was a clear departure from this team spirit that brought Mr. President into power at that point in time, because there are weighty meanings in words. So words and personalities are connected to make sense to everyone in terms of political substance. From these indices, it shows that the relevance of team spirit is key in part of what he has said. There is no doubt that Nigerians respect Mr. President because of this integrity issue. And the All Progressive Congress, of course, is considered to be a party of integrity and all that from their manifestos. A lot of people were involved because team spirit was also involved during the campaign. So from what he has said, we are experiencing a very interesting synergy between the executive for the first time now compared to what happened in the last term. The executive and the legislative arm of government in this very administration has been in fact, the relationship has been very robust. But my own take on this is that as far as the supremacy of the party is concerned, from what he has canvassed, I will also suggest that as good as supremacy of the party is, like what Mr. Wale has said the other time, is a father for Nigeria, is the president of Nigeria. The supremacy of the party should not be jettisoned for incompetence. Because competence, professionalism, and again, this idea of trying to ensure that the right peg is fixed in the right hole will make sense for any administration. If loyalty to you means incompetence, I will never support that. So Mr. President will make sense in some of his policies and manifestos in execution if he puts people that are supposed to do the right thing in the right policy framework. Because that's the only way to work. Because what we need, essentially, for all Nigerians, which has been our aspiration and demands, is that dividends of democracy and 3 basic necessities of life should be delivered to the doorsteps of all Nigerians. So that is the substance of my belief, and that is my credo.
Wale, in all governance, party politics in the last 4 years, and when you look at the performance of the All Progressive Congress in 2015 when they came out to promise change, and when you look at the result of 2019 election, it will be, when you do a kind of analysis of that result, it's like the verdict of the people, like a referendum. They lost a lot of ground. What do you see that is not connected here?
No, I think it's just part of what my colleagues have mentioned. The tragedy is that you have a father, wife, and son who are not seeing things from the same perspective. There's a promise of free education, free health to a certain extent, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But somewhere along the line, Mr. President missed it when he was coming on board. Because like he rightly said, that I'm for everybody, I'm not for anybody. You understand? That means you are telling your party people on whose platform, whose promise that you are supposed to implement when you get into office, that you don't necessarily have to listen to what they have to say. And if you go deeper, to me, it has a lot of bearing on what happened in the National Assembly, because you need to focus on your party first. Fine, you are the father of all, but there are certain things that you need to do, because if you're able to carry your party along, some people, you may not be able to call them to order at the national level, but at the state level, at the local government level, when the party speaks with one voice, before you know it, things start working normally. But in terms of assessment, to me, fair, maybe about 47%. You understand? While others also get some marks here and there in terms of performance. You are looking at it in terms of states lost to the other political parties, but not necessarily so. You can lose some states and then still be a fantastic performer. Because in some areas, we just look at, oh, these guys don't sharing money. The goodies are not coming to, they are not coming to us as they should. But for me, looking at what the APC promised, because for instance now, by now, before the National Assembly left the scene, there should have been a move towards constitutional amendment in Nigeria. If not by now, we should have amended certain sections of the constitution to accommodate certain things that people have been agitating for in terms of this national conference, because that was part of what the APC promised ahead of the 2015 general elections. But up to now, that has not been done. So a lot of people are angry with that, not just in terms of bread and butter and things like that. You make a promise, for God's sake, you just have to fulfill it. But one man alone, or one arm of government alone cannot do that, except the others are carried along so that they can see things from the same perspective, which did not happen in his first time. Hopefully, as things are going now, himself and the National Assembly, they are speaking with one voice. The party too, they are speaking with one voice. Let us hope and pray that things will work out in accordance with what the party promised the Nigerians.
How was it in PDP days, during the 16-year PDP held sway, in terms of party patronage, in terms of implementing the programs of the party?
Ayo, that sounds like asking me to travel back in time, but I'll make a sincere effort. See, the truth of the matter is that political parties exist basically, primarily, and that's what I was taught in my elementary school days, that they basically exist to help their members into positions. That's the truth. It's almost a selfish...
but that's not so.
Yeah, it's almost a selfish exercise, as it were. So, for PDP, talking about inclusiveness, how much of members or those who got into political power were outside the PDP fold? Maybe a few. References have been made to some technocrats and all that. And I think that is why there's been this call for inclusiveness. I remember, the national leader, Ashwaju, talking about, now that we have won, that we should reach out to, people who are outside the party. That is ideal. That is the expectation of Nigerians. That those who are capable, who have capacity, who have character, who are competent, should be made to, occupy positions.
Yes.
That is what is expected. But ordinarily, it doesn't play out that way. Most of the time, you find that the way power is shared, the way power is allocated, okay, it goes to more than 98% of the time to those who are party members. But taking it home, if you recall, it was Oshomole who said, after the elections and given the number of positions won by the party, that they don't have excuse anymore. As it were, they dominate the National Assembly, the Senate, and the lower house, that is the House of Representatives. I remember him saying very clearly that they don't have excuses anymore. They're in position, to drive policies and national goals. So that is what is expected of the political party. But Ayo, like I've always, argued, the party needs to be very genuine. The party needs to be very sincere to itself in terms of coming together to work as one, to speak with one voice. And I'll give you.
Let me quickly take this call. I have Endurance calling from Spain. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, sir. My elders there. I appreciate your good work.
Thank you, Endurance.
I appreciate your good work. I'm enjoying this political analysis and about the situation of our country.
Where in Spain are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Asturias.
Okay.
The Prince Village. We call it the Principal Village. So I'll be following your topic right from day one. I'll be trying participating in this thread. Sometimes the call never goes on the busy line. So I really appreciate some of the analysis you have been giving, enlightenment, helping the citizens with Nigeria to know and benefit about this government of a thing.
Question?
Endurance is out.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Keep watching Endurance.
Okay, so the point I was trying to make is this, that the party needs to be sincere to itself. It needs to be genuine. When the president talked about, carrying every person along, that was a very nice comment. But you and I know, and unless you want to pretend, there's been this very strong rumor about a certain cabal within the presidency. The talk is everywhere. And the fact that they seem to influence a lot of things. And so you have a situation where party members don't feel a very strong sense of belonging, in the sense that most times that critical decisions need to be taken, it seems to be decisions engineered by a few persons within the presidency. We have had even the wife of Mr. President talking about certain elements who really don't want the party to make very quick progress. So my concern here basically is that there is absolute need for the party to be sincere to itself. If there is there are calls for strong cohesion, for unity, they should mean it in every way. There should be, Mr. President, like we have argued here, is the father of the nation. He needs to understand that whatever decisions that he take, have very serious implications for the larger society. So there is need for us to play less of politics. The elections have been won, all right? The APC needs to get down to work. You talked about, performance, talked about, the PDP in its 16 years and all that. That is come and gone, okay? We've been real with stories of corruption and the rest of it. But APC made promises on 3 pedestals. They were going to fight corruption, they were going to fight insecurity, and deal with the economy. So if you want to assess the party against the promises that have been made, you want to look at the fight against, the fight against corruption. What is the perception out there? How much success have been made?
Insecurity.
At the level of insecurity as well. When you're looking at the economy, you're looking at how much of government policy has impacted on human development index. How many of our kids are out of school, all right? And the rest of that. So,
okay, let me allow Akin to make your final submission on this.
All I need to say on this is that sentiment should not be prioritized over competence as far as this administration is concerned. And I also want the All Progressive Congress to also know that at national level, before history, that the scorecard of this administration will determine the dimension of the franchise in the next 4 years. So it is very key. So they must ensure that implementation of all the promises made regardless of whatever challenges they might have, is very key. Because at the end of the day, the scorecard of Mr. President, especially in the area of succession, because of course he can't contest again. So I think Mr. President should, for the first time, be in charge fully and ensure that there is actualization of all the aspirations of Nigerians because of succession plans.
Okay, I have Matthias from Taraba State. Thank you for joining us, Matthias.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Matthias.
I am calling from Jalingo, sir.
Okay, the state capital. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, sir. Sir, what I observe with this administration, the Mr. President is always looking one-sided. He's always looking one-sided on this issue of corruption and all that. He doesn't stick to his word. Please, I'm just praying for the National Working Committee to advise him on how to go, not only one individual and that have been taking affairs of the government.
Okay, thank you for your contribution, Matthias. I think we have to leave it there. Now, when the dog and the leopard engage in hunting expenditure, it is very likely that one of them may get hurt. At a trying time like this in Nigeria, when security agencies are expected to work in accord, we are witnessing something in the contrary. On Wednesday, some police officers lost their lives when some soldiers from the 93 Battalion of the Nigerian Army, Takum, Taraba State, opened fire on them. The police operatives from the Intelligence Response Team, IRT, were said to be returning from a covert operation when the soldiers attacked them on the Ibi-Jalingo Road. The three police operatives, reputed to be some of the finest in the IRT, and a civilian died in the attack, while the notorious kidnap kingpin, the arrested Alhaji Amisu, was released and is now on the run. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammadu Adamu, has ordered full investigation into the circumstances surrounding the unfortunate incident. Let's share this story with you.
Operatives of the Nigeria Police are mourning the death of 3 of their colleagues killed on Tuesday during a covert operation in Taraba State. The Intelligence Response Team of the Inspector General of Police was on a mission to arrest a kidnap kingpin who had been indicted in several kidnappings. The police say the suspect, one Alhaji Amisu, was responsible for the abduction of an oil mogul, after which he got a ransom of 100 million naira. The police operatives had succeeded in their mission, but the success was short-lived. Along the Ibi-Wukari Road, the Intelligence Response Team came under fire from troops of the 93 Battalion of the Nigerian Army, Takum. This video obtained by TVC News shows the aftermath of the shooting. Someone is heard in the video saying the victims are kidnappers and should be killed. Moments later, another voice is heard saying the victims are from the Inspector General of Police. In a statement, the police spokesman said the police operatives had duly identified themselves, yet the troops fired at them, killing 3 of them and a civilian. The army spokesman in a counter statement said the police team had been presumed to be kidnappers and they had refused to halt at 3 sentries mounted by the troops. He added that the presumed kidnappers had opened fire on the troops, which prompted a response. According to the army spokesman, the troops later discovered after the shootout that the suspected kidnappers were actually police operatives. The conflicting stories have prompted an investigation to unravel the circumstances surrounding the killing of the police operatives and the civilian. A joint investigation panel led by the Deputy Inspector General of Police has begun work. In the meantime, the police are on the trail of the kidnapped kingpin Alhaji Amisu, whom the police claim was freed by the troops.
Quite unfortunate there.
Very unfortunate.
my own question is, that man was handcuffed, leg and with hand, he was manacled, and after killing the police operatives, that man was allowed to walk away.
No, there's no doubt, even from the small clip we just watched, that the soldiers were at fault. No doubt about that. Whoever is issuing a counter statement, that person doesn't know.
Is this an issue of conspiracy or what?
Wait.
How come that individual?
No, it's not just.
Did not sustain any injury and he walked away.
My brother, wait. You should not just look at this as an isolated incident. I've written severally on my Facebook page when our colleagues and some others, Fulani herdsmen kidnapped this, Fulani herdsmen kidnapped that. I tell some of them who are close to me, you guys don't know what is going on. Dig deeper, it's more than that. It's not a question of Fulani herdsmen being everywhere. Are they superhuman beings? There is connivance among some of our security agencies. One just happened in my local government in Ogun State, where the RCG pastor and some others were kidnapped. One of our people was killed by soldiers there. And that directly or indirectly enabled the kidnappers to run away. You can't see that in any of their reports or their statements. What happened there, from the little we have seen, is that it appears as if some people told the soldiers, look, that guy is being taken away, make sure he doesn't go, and that's what you have seen happening there. To me, that is what has been happening all over. It is not just a question of
make sure they don't take him away.
Exactly, in some individuals, because if the proper thing is done, by the time you are arrested, it's not just a question of charging them to court. Who are the people they've been interacting with? Who are the people providing logistics for them? You discover they are not just civilians. You find some of them in security circles. That's just it. So that's why I was laughing when they said the IG has considered an investigation, whatever, into it. To me, with what has happened, this is not a question of the IG, unless he has directives from Mr. President, who is the CNC. It involves the military. The police cannot just enter into any barracks until they want to arrest some suspects. Fine, immediately this one has happened, I expect that the military police will have gotten these guys into custody. Good or not, that the soldiers know that it's their men that killed those police officers. They should be in custody by now of the military police. They transfer them to DNI. From there to the National Security Advisor. It is actually the Office of National Security Advisor who should look into this. And beyond what has happened, use it as a template to look into other cases of kidnapping across the country. I'm of the firm opinion, I have no doubt about it, that some of our security people are involved seriously in this kidnapping thing going on. The kidnappers are not superhuman beings, for God's sake. Some of our security people are involved. And it's a high time the National Security Advisor act his office. I use this one as a template to get to the root of the matter itself. It's not just a question of soldiers killing police. It's not an isolated thing. It's not today that, those guys were rescued, and all of a sudden the kidnappers disappeared into thin air, and everybody is writing some funny reports. I was with a senior government official about 3-4 days ago, and the report I saw, man, I was just laughing. I was in government now. I do read through reports like this now. This is hogwash. I don't believe it. I think you rescue those people, and then those who kidnap them don't disappear into thin air there. That's connivance. And that's why I always said, look, Fulani husband kidnapping is bogus. Those doing it continue to hype the fact that some Fulanis are involved. But the reality is that they are not superhuman beings. They cannot be everywhere at the same time.
What do you make of?
There is something going on which the National Security Advisor ought to look into.
What do you make of this particular story? Because I actually felt, so bad yesterday night, and especially when I went to the wall of Abakari and I saw it on his wall that these men that were killed, that they're one of their finest, that they were involved in apprehending Evans, and even the man that was from Daura, that's one of our finest guys. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, Ayo, it's a very sorry tale. It's a terrible story. I mean, we've just watched the clips, and it looked more like scene out of a war zone. I mean, you saw the vehicle turned upside down, and you wonder if it was just, mass shooting. The impression I come away with is that there was a terrible fight, as it were, and my condolences really go to the families, of those who have lost people. But having said that, just like Wale said, there are many more questions than answers. I mean, it's more like, I've listened to, Frank Mba, tell his own side of the story. I didn't expect anything less. I knew there was going to be some, counter-narrative, from the military. But in between those two narratives, the truth is glaring. Yeah, I can tell.
The man escaped.
Yes.
That's the bottom.
That's the bottom line. I mean, if we believe what has been said about the alleged kingpin, Alhaji Hamisu, that he was in handcuffs, somebody had him untied, unlocked.
Uncuffed him.
I mean, that's just the truth. And if the claims are also correct, it means that the guy is a don himself.
That's what I'm saying.
And if you are a don, in the mafia world, if you are a don, you have your men everywhere. In the military, in the judiciary, in the police, everywhere. You just name it. I mean, again, we're still operating at the realm of allegations. If he picked 100 million from one kidnap exercise, then the guy is not just anybody. It means he's quite influential, he's got reach, he's got a fantastic network. And then the story we're told that the soldiers were responding to a distress call. I mean, it simply means that, again, that some people somewhere knew that an incident had taken place, and they simply activated their cells across everywhere and said, don't let him go. And now, if the man doesn't have anything to hide, why is he on the run? Those are questions to ask. So, we must admit that even within our military, there are criminals. And in the course of preparing for this program, I went back, tried to do some research. We have had cases of soldiers involved in banditry, involved in armed robbery. The most recent case, you remember, the few who were said to be escorting millions to somewhere, and they absconded. As we speak, those guys are nowhere to be found. Earlier in the year, some 4 soldiers, same Borno state, they were active players within the Lafia Dole, that's what I believe it's called. 4 of them, they were serving there, and they were caught for alleged armed robbery. In 2018, in January, you had 2 cases of soldiers who were, 2 soldiers who were, arrested for alleged armed robbery. In September of 2018, so the story is everywhere. It wouldn't be the first time. And like Wale said, it takes a ring to be able to make a success of what today has become an industry, the kidnapping industry. It's not a one-man thing. You have gangs all over the place. You have informants. The same way the IG is talking about his intelligence response team, the same way these guys also have their intelligence all over the place. So we have a situation on our hands, a terrible situation on our hands. And I think that this should be taken very seriously. I just read a report somewhere that even Mr. President himself has asked that high-powered committee be put in place to investigate what has happened. I would just hope that something meaningful will come out of it.
And that man,
because the way
and
it
that
is,
man will be apprehended again.
The other concern that should bother us is that we have had interagency rivalry all over the place.
Yes, yes. Let me just take this. Let's take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangouts. We'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Journalist Hangouts, and we are reaching you from our headquarters here, Television Continental in Lagos, Nigeria. And Afolabi, we are looking at this unfortunate incident, and I've been reading the story over and over again, and I know something is missing somewhere.
I think the whole world is watching Nigerian security apparatus with a lot of excruciating pains. This is nonsensical. This is absurd. This is completely, what I would describe as a balderdash. You were exchanging. In fact, there was no question at all. How could someone who was handcuffed be spared of the bullets? Because if you were shooting, that means you were conscious of the target. This is very sad. This is a text on the insurgency, in fact, the battle against insurgency in Nigeria. That shows that for Nigerians to be at alert, that the war against Boko Haram, banditry and all that, there is no synergy as far as the security apparatus in Nigeria. And I've said this severally on this platform. There's insurgency and some of this highly powered crime in Nigeria has been fully commercialized. This is completely conspiratorial, because for this kind of call to come, for crying out loud, if you were even called for it, at least you should stop them in the first instance and ask them some question. It's not that the police were shooting first. If police were shooting,
it was clear they had advantage.
If police were shooting, you can now say, okay, in defense, you were just shooting and all that, and the suspect escaped. And that's why I say I've explained to so many people that most of these kingpin are extremely connected, to the extent that they have solid account numbers of some of their members in the military, so that at least for settlement, because the military should take this far. And I think it is an indictment on the part of the presidency if this investigation is not carried out fully. And again, I want them to even make it independent. It has to be carried out fully, so that at the end of the day, we'll know where we are going. And again, condolences to the bereaved family of the slain police officers. It's terrible.
The officers on duty in the 93 battalion, they must come under searchlights.
No, it's not just, like I said the other time, to me, the normal route is all the soldiers involved in that operation, arrest them. There will be a unit commander responsible for them. He too has to be taken into custody. Then the commander in charge of that place, by now, he should be in the army headquarters in Abuja, explaining himself. But those soldiers arrested, they don't have to be taken to the army headquarters. They will be debriefed there by the military police, from the military intelligence, but they should now be handed over to the 4th CID in Abuja, not the RRT. It's the 4th CID that will treat the case. But the files, a copy of the file can go to the IG, but the person who should be directly in charge should be the National Security Advisor, who is supposed to be in charge of all of the security apparatus in the country. If the thing should come with the force of the Office of the Security Advisor, within a week this will be cracked open. Where's their account, their bank account? The person who sent them there, how many accounts does he have? I mean, yes. I'm talking about the guy in the office, whoever is the commander there, and where has money been coming from into that account. Check all the, like the Americans will say, follow the money. You get the facts. So because this kind of a thing is a disgrace. Apart from the fact that there is no synergy, you said you got a distress call from who? Number can be traced. Is it MTN or Glo, whatever? Where did the call originate from? Or what time did you get a call? Phone call? Fine, no problem.
It's locked.
That will be traced. And then what is the relationship? Has such a person been calling you before? Where is that person? Identify the person. Then apart from that as well, is the fact that once you accosted them, the policemen, they've identified themselves as officials of the Nigeria Police Force. Did you call the Commissioner of Police in that state? To verify? Or report back to your base that we arrested some policemen? Or call the divisional police officer around the place? Did you try to make...
Look at the arguments of the...
it doesn't make sense.
Look at the response of the military, that after passing through 3 checkpoints, so they passed through checkpoints without identifying themselves, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is that the kidnapper left unhurt.
To where?
That's
once you engage them,
that's what makes it very laughable.
Yes, you know? Sam. Right, because I said something when we went on break. Yeah. I said if they had found the corpse of everybody, including the kidnappers, we say, oh, this thing might be a kind of accidental.
I think what should have even been explainable. What would have been explainable is that
why is it that criminal?
Without preempting what the findings, whatever findings it is that this so-called committee is going to come up.
It will be embarrassing, so it won't come out.
So, you know, the critical question, like you asked, is what happened? I think that the policemen were simply taken out.
They were taken out.
They were simply taken out.
They were taken out.
You know, I don't see any sign that there was
exchange.
An exchange. I don't see any sign. I mean, the army has not reported that any soldier. I mean, are they so fantastic? And we're not winning the war? You had the policemen
use execution.
4 operatives and nothing. Not even a scratch. The army didn't tell us that a soldier had a scratch.
Okay, let me pick this call.
They were simply taken out.
I think Shola from Oyo State. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, this is one too many. From the photograph, hello?
Yes.
Yeah, from the photograph, is it the bus the police came with or the police van that I saw behind this thing? They have to investigate that. Number two, that was the same way the soldiers raped a lady from Akoko the other day. They have more within them, so they just have to wake up and do something better. Thank you very much.
I think I also have another issue again with because if the kingpin is being allowed to speak, there are a lot of indictment that will happen.
Of course, it's a chain.
So the bottom line is to ensure that
his life is even at stake.
This kingpin, I can assure you, is no longer in the territory of Nigeria.
Oh.
Honestly, because this is no longer in the territory of Nigeria.
There's something I tell my colleagues, sometimes we make a joke of it. I say Nigeria is a republic of missing persons. It's so very easy to disappear. Maida, Nnamdi Kanu. People just walk away. We had the recent case. The man would have crossed the border and gone to wherever he wants to go to.
They can't be in the territory of Nigeria with this kind of...
My belief is that if the story that has been told is correct, of a man who picks 100 million naira, that's 0.1 billion, from an exercise, and a criminal exercise.
One out of several.
The guy is not a small player in the game. That's the truth. It's a network. It's a mafia.
Powerful one.
So, like he said, if we are to get to the root of this matter, there is need for an independent committee. I don't see, and I'd like to be disappointed, a committee, at that level of the police and the military, even if they have findings they want to report, I'm not sure they want to make it public.
No, they'll never make it public. You inject so many
It's a shame. And I just hope that these guys don't die in vain. It's a terrible blow to the IR team. Yeah. The Abakari team has done so well.
Honestly.
To lose 3 men in one day, highly trained. It's a special force, for goodness sake.
It's a setback, big setback. Very big setback.
Baba Sule is calling us from Spain. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Baba Sule.
Yeah,
Go ahead with your contribution.
I just want to commend you for good work that you are doing, speaking the minds and the voices of Nigeria.
Thank you. Go ahead today.
It's like we lost him.
I think
we lost him. So that means this should not be swept under the carpet.
Never.
Nigerians are interested.
We're interested in this matter.
And again, I have an issue again with patriotism in Nigeria from the security point of view. If police officers who are genuinely working to ensure that at least kingpin like this did not go scot-free is wasted like this, for you to establish sincerity in the security, networking, the morale of people that are sincerely working to ensure that at least we have a free society has been attacked. That's been assaulted. That's been assaulted. And if there is no justice, if there is no justice in this, the police, those people who are supposed to be working hard in the police, if there is no justice, the morale to be efficient and effective has been terribly assaulted. So I pray.
Okay. Moving forward now, for the detained leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, IMN, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, it seems freedom is still far from reach after a Kaduna State High Court granted the IMN leader and his wife, Zenat, permission to travel to India for medical treatment. The Kaduna State government on Wednesday filed for strict supervision of the medical trip granted El-Zakzaky and his wife by the courts. According to a statement by the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arua, El-Zakzaky can only be allowed to embark on the foreign trip if he meets certain conditions. This includes confirmation of his appointment with the hospital by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. an undertaking to produce 2 prominent persons as sureties and a guarantee from the governments of India that it will not entertain any application for asylum from El Zaki. Since yesterday, I've been studying this, and a court actually ruled, and the DSS actually communicated that, okay, they are about to carry out the directive of the courts. Now come Kaduna State government. And somebody said this morning that, look, they are at the receiving end of this whole thing. That is understandable. I said, okay, apart from the court ruling, the Kaduna State government is giving another ruling. And I read the long demand, carefully tailored. Because it's as bad as anybody that wants to visit him in India. It should be screened. They should know the people visiting him and everything. But if they had gone through medical checkup and from independent assessors and the government, they've discovered that, look, this man is not feeling fine. Why all this? You know, because the bottom line that if anything happens to El Zaki, it will be inconsequential, all these steps and procedures.
You know what? A senior colleague, Richard Akinola, he wrote something very powerful on Facebook, I think about 3 hours ago. I think maybe about 2 hours or 1.5 hours after I wrote it, he updated his status. Let me just read it concerning this very issue. Yes. Okay. An official of the Kaduna State government has called me to clarify issues I raised in my earlier post today in respect of the court order permitting El Zaki to travel to India for medical treatment. According to him, the court order stated that the trip has to be under the strict supervision of Kaduna State government. Hence, the government has filed in court the conditions it is proposing, adding that the court is at liberty to either accept or reject the conditions. After counsel to El Zaki, Femi Falana will have responded to the conditions filed by the state government. So in a way, it's like that is the side of the Kaduna State government. It is not final. The Kaduna State government is not saying this is what is going to happen at the end of the day. The court is at liberty to reject those conditions or accept them. But that is also conditioned upon Femi Falana filing counter conditions or whatever.
But I thought the court has rules.
But the treatment, according to what he has posted now,
you know, what we are standing on now is not an appeal from Kaduna State government. If it's an appeal, it's another thing, as in a superior court. But the court has ruled, and the subsisting...
What I think we have here is suspense. On the surface, it will seem that we have a very complex issue. But I think what is playing out basically is that, first, if you situate this issue, the Kaduna State government is carrying this burden, okay? And I believe that what they are trying to do, first, the court has ordered. Whatever agreement you have outside the court's order does not really matter. Even the Kaduna State government has said that it wasn't going to ask for stay of execution. So it's not like, don't implement this. The man is entitled to his medical leave. They accept that, they acknowledge that, all right? So what I think is playing out here, and that's the suspense element, is that the Kaduna State government, because of the enormity of this case, wants to apply technicality, wants to buy time, all right? It has said, look, we might file, we might go to an appeal. And I've read what Falana said. He said, look, a court of appeal in the past has pronounced judgment in this kind of case. And the ruling of the court was that when you have a situation where life is involved, and order has been given by any court, you obey it. That's what Falana is saying. And he was advising them, don't go to appeal. If you go to appeal, you will lose. But Ayo, you and I know that as individuals, as institutions, we have a right to go and appeal. When you do that, you're basically buying time. All right? They have said, and they acknowledge from what you have said.
To recognition,
they know
the state of the man. They help the state of the health.
From what has been said, they know that if they go on appeal, that they will lose. Sure. But they have a right to go on appeal, and that could take another 1 month, another 2 months.
The person that suffer is the guy in detention.
Absolutely. So, but he has also said that whatever agreement you have outside what the court has ruled, doesn't really make any sense. And that confirms what our senior colleague has said. Whatever it is, the court can then decide, all right, that this agreement you have had outside our ruling doesn't make sense to us. As far as we are concerned, this man is on medical leave and he is under the supervision of the government. All right? He puts the matter squarely on the table, on the laps of the government. So whatever it is that the Kaduna State government wants to do is to say, look, this is a high-risk individual. We don't want to take, too much risk and all that. He just wants to appeal to the conscience, all right, of the parties who are involved in this case.
The conscience of emotions?
Yeah, and of course, in law, you can't plead emotion in law. You can't plead emotion in law.
They left the caveats that, look, as in this, it was stated clearly that he cannot seek asylum from India.
There are exceptions.
Okay, let me take Otumba. Otumba is calling us from Lagos.
Yes, hello. Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, you guys are doing a very good job there. God bless you all.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a contribution regarding the military, the police, and army conflict. I think for me, there's like what you guys have said it all. You said it all in your platform. There's a conspiracy theory in regards to that. I think now for the military to just drop into conclusion and presume that it was a distress call, even without consulting a proper investigation, I suspect foul play. And I think the government, an independent investigation should be carried out. Not by the police, not by the military. Let an independent investigation be carried out. I'm sure that call was made. I'm sure if we call in experts to investigate this issue, we'll get to the root of this kidnapping in this country.
Exactly.
Thank you, Otumba. God bless you. Thank you.
I think, like I was saying, to every general rule, law is about exceptions. From what Kaduna State government is trying to do, because I think is the state itself that is facing economic challenges of the involvement of most of this crisis, Kaduna State itself. And I think, as far as I am concerned on this issue, caution must be, applied. We don't want a situation where the rule of law will be, assaulted, from the point of law globally, that a citizen who is entitled to a bill has been cleverly, blocked not to enjoy all those
okay, we have to go. Your last take on this?
No, the thing for me, I want to agree with Sam that what the Kaduna State government is doing, despite the explanation offered earlier, it's just a question of trying to buy time, delay the process. Because by the time you're saying the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has to confirm his medical appointment, two prominent Nigerians must come as guarantee, and then you want a surety from the government of India that they will not grant him asylum. For somebody who to get that, it's just a question of trying to.
It appears
highly vindictive. Keep the guy here for as long as it's possible. I think it's just a question of playing.
It appears vindictive and all that.
I think in all this, what bothers me is the fact that each time we have a case of this type, our leaders are quick to want to run abroad for medical care. It's a shame. We're embarrassing ourselves before the rest of the world. We're simply saying that our medical facilities are a disgrace.
Of course.
I mean, how many people who are Indians with this sort of matter have asked to come to Nigeria for medical leave? I think that is what is embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. That is what we should be calling attention to. For how long are we going to continue this way? anytime we have an issue, any of our big men has, a matter before the courts, he wants to run away and go abroad and buy time.
I think this
in the name of
this is more or less political. This is political.
I want to thank you, Afolabi Akinola.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being part of this edition. And Sam Ibemere, thank you for your
Always my
contribution.
pleasure.
And Wale Adedayo, thank you. I hope next time it will be easier to get you on seats.
Sure.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. We're on youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now, and God bless.